This is sad. Boxing 101. This is addressing all the retards. I understand you're a Pacquiao lover, but you have to understand the science of boxing. To say that Juan Manuel Marquez is a cheater is the most disrespectful thing you could say about one of the best Mexican fighters to ever come through. One of the best. Understand the science of boxing before you try to call him a cheater, because he's probably more stand up than most fighters out today. So let me give you Boxing 101. Let's start with the so-called foot stomping, or whatever you want to call it. When an orthodox and an unorthodox fighter fights, meaning lead hand for the orthodox fighter is his left hand, lead hand for the unorthodox fighter is his right hand, meaning their lead foot is going to come together every single time. Compared to a lefty fighting a lefty and a righty fighting a righty, their lead foot will always be on the outside. Their lead foot would never come into each other, basically. So when you have orthodox against unorthodox, the lead foot always comes together. Now, the key for any boxer who gets in a ring like this, especially a Manny Pacquiao, whose majority of the fighters he's fighting are right-handed. The key is to get your lead foot on the outside. So once you throw your punch, you can step around. If you get your lead foot on the inside, you could get caught and lose your balance and go down. Now, this is simple boxing. Simple. Any trainer would tell you this. Get your lead foot on the outside so you can step around. But here's the thing. You have to use your peripheral vision to do that. Meaning you can't look at your feet. It's impossible to look at your feet, because the moment you look down to look at where you're placing your foot, the other person is going to pop you. So you have to try your best to try to step outside. Now, both fighters are trying to step outside of each other. They're trying to step outside of each other while not looking at their feet. And if you watch every fight, it doesn't have to be Manny Pacquiao. If you watch any fighter that's orthodox against unorthodox fighter, the foot stepping happens because they're both trying to get their dominant lead foot on the outside. And if they're not going to look down at their foot because they can get punched that way, they're trying to step out. They're trying to step out, and they're going to step on each other's feet. This happens. This is some of the issues with orthodox and unorthodox fighters. It has nothing to do with cheating, because they're not trying to cheat. They're trying to get a dominant position, and you can't get dominant position by looking down at your feet, because if you do that, you're going to get punched. That's simple boxing. Boxing 101. Now, if you want to talk about headbutts, Manny Pacquiao, for the most part, a lot of his fighters that he's been fighting are bigger than him. I don't mean size-wise, I'm talking about height. So it's to his best interest to come in low. And there's no way you can come in low trying to throw a punch and lean back, because it's taken away from his power. So if you watch every time he throws, he's leaning in low to try to avoid contact and try to avoid punches. This makes him susceptible to headbutts because other fighters are doing the same thing. They're trying to stay low, especially when they're around the same height, like a Marquez, like a Timothy Bradley that you're going to see. They're all trying to stay low to avoid punches. Accidental headbutts are going to happen when it's an orthodox against an unorthodox fighter because, excuse me, they're leaning in. They're leaning in with their same lead foot. They're coming in the same direction. When they're going low, it's going to happen. So Marquez, didn't intentionally headbutt him. Marquez didn't intentionally step on his foot. Because if you intentionally step on somebody's foot, you're going to get popped trying to look down at somebody's foot to see where you could put your foot. That's just retarded. You know what? I don't even have to explain this no more. This is boxing 101. You can be a Pacquiao lover all you want, but how dare you call Marquez a cheater because you don't understand the science of boxing? That's just retarded on your part. And every time you open your mouth about that, you're retarded. See, I understand this, and this is why I don't like it. You have the boxing community. I'm going to do this again. The boxing community. And then the general pop. The fact that everybody who's having arguments with Pacquiao are part of the boxing community, arguing with Pacquiao fans who are general pop. General pop doesn't understand the science of boxing. You understand that you like a fighter. You don't understand the sport. You understand a fighter. Don't bring argument to a conversation that you don't understand. I'm telling you, this is what a boxing trainer tells a fighter when he's first starting out. Boxing 101. Get your lead foot on the outside. Don't look at your feet. Use your peripheral. Get your lead foot on the outside. Occasionally, you're going to step on each other's foot when you're fighting a lefty because you're both trying to get your lead foot on the outside. This is the basics of boxing. If you go into any boxing gym, this is one of the first things you get taught in the sport of boxing. So when you call one of the most stand-up Mexican fighters of this newer generation, even though he's kind of old now, Marquez is kind of old now, people, his meteoric rise didn't hit the pinnacle of his success until he started having this trilogy with Pacquiao. Don't berate, belittle, and tear down one of the most stand-up Mexican fighters of this newer generation, because he is probably one of the cleaner fighters. He doesn't talk trash. Nice guy. Respectable in the ring. Any boxer who stepped in the ring with him would tell you that. But because you're a Pacquiao fan and you don't like the fact that you don't understand boxing, you're going to call him a cheater? You look retarded. And that's as simple as I can put it. So every one of you, this is a message to you. Learn your fucking sport before you berate a boxer, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You sound like a fucking idiot. And it's fucking pissing me off that you talk shit about a sport you don't fucking know. Learn the sport. Fucking idiot.